Hi, it's Rob Shore with Wholesaler Masterminds, the new Wholesaler Masterminds Radio Show. We're back with Mike Brown. Mike Brown is the owner and president of Management Recruiters, Cedar Rapids, one of the top 10 management recruiting offices in the entire United States. I've asked Mike to join me here today because we want to talk about how should you prepare in case you think you might be laid off. This is part 2. Please go back and watch part 1. That'll give you the full setup on why we're talking about this. But the long and the short of it is not hard to imagine that the unemployment rate, moves from a devastatingly high place today to a devastatingly higher place, and that organizations will start to have to reconcile what they're spending versus what they're bringing in revenue. And your firm might be one of those firms that has to look at layoff, because it certainly happened in 1987. It certainly happened in year 2000, 2001, as well as 2008, 2009. And Mike's going to give us some guidance therein. So again, go watch episode 1. Come back if you need to, and visit us with us here on episode 2. So Mike, welcome back.
Thank you.
Here we go. I want to talk specifically about working with recruiters. Whenever somebody calls me and says, Rob, first of all, is there a laundry list of recruiters you would think I should reach out to? The answer is, I don't necessarily know all the recruiters in the business today. But my preposition on that is I'm predisposed to thinking, if you will, that a recruiter doesn't really want to hear from you because they're simply going to go out and find the pegs to fit in the holes when they have an opening. And when I told you that was my predisposition, your brow furrowed, and you told me that is certainly not necessarily the case, especially with your organization. Address that for me, because apparently I'm dead wrong.
Did I really furrow my brow?
I think you might. I think there might have been some brow furrowing. I think there might have been.
All right. What I would say is this, is our firm, along with many other firms, is very candidate-centric, and we're very relationship-centric, and meaning that there is instances where we have open positions, and we absolutely need to fill those positions, and we will go out and find those candidates. But the majority of the time, the phone calls that we're making day in and day out into our markets, we're trying to get to know people. We're building relationships. We're figuring out where somebody is in the course of their career and how we can help them take the next step in that career. And sometimes those relationships foster over time. Sometimes they happen quickly where we can help somebody make a move, a positive career change. But by all means, what we're looking for, Rob, is we are looking to build relationships with people now and in the future. So absolutely, we welcome resumes. We welcome people that reach out, and we'll be very frank with them. And here's what we have. We can help you, or we can't help you in the short term. Or maybe it's more of an elongated need, and we can help them take the big step, wholesaler to DVP, DVP to national, so on and so forth. But I would say this is, when you reach out to a recruiter, make sure you're reaching out to a recruiter who cares about you and who cares about your career, and is not just purely focused on trying to turn a placement, trying to make a buck, and who also understands just the complete picture of what that looks like. And I know many recruiters, you and I know probably the same recruiters in your space, in the financial services space. There's some great folks out there who have similar beliefs that I do. Conversely, what to look out for recruiters who maybe don't have the same belief system as our firm and the others, is just look out for the folks that, quite honestly, look and feel like they're trying to turn a dollar. It reeks of desperation. They're quick to respond to you and then leave you hanging and leave you dry. Somebody that's able to communicate with you, that's what you want.
That is so true in so many professions. I mean, your firm is quite successful. None of your recruiters nor you are starving and needing to do things that are unsavory in order to make a placement. The very best wholesalers are the same way. The very best sales professionals are the same way. The very best C-suite folks are the same way. They're confident in their ability, and they're confident in what they can do, and they understand the process. You hit on something I want to know more about, and that's this whole notion of resumes. Do I dare send an unsolicited resume into an executive recruiting firm? Will it even see the light of day? Should I be referred in? Should I call cold? If I call in cold, who should I ask for? Will they even take my call? I mean, these are all questions that plague me. Mike, tell me more.
You're sitting up at night pondering these things, huh?
No, I mean, I get asked these questions. And so, they may not plague me always, but
Right.
from time to time, it's like, I want to serve my community the way you want to serve your clients. And it's like, okay, I get asked these questions. I'm going to ask the expert. Should I do that stuff, or is that just bad form?
No, absolutely. Send a resume and we will absolutely review it and we will absolutely see it. And so I think the key is to identify a recruiter who specializes in your space, who specializes close to what you do. And I think best case scenario, send an intro email. Hey, Rob. Hey, Mike. I'm in the process where I may be open, or I'm in the process where I'm absolutely open to looking for other things out there. Would you be open to reviewing my resume? Or I've attached my resume. Please review. I'd love the chance to get in touch. Phone calls work, emails work, text work. It all works. We definitely want to communicate with those people that are looking for positions. As mentioned before, we're trying to build relationships. So we're not picky on how people reach out to us. Now, a referral, that always goes a long way too. So Rob, if you ever send somebody our way, we absolutely want to make sure we're taking that extra step to make sure that we're honoring the relationship with you, with that person.
I got a question that maybe wasn't on our outline, but it just came to me, and I want to know your opinion of it. And we're only here for candor. So if it ticks off some of our HR partners at our firms, sorry. When these postings go online, right? So there's a posting for fill in the blank insurance company, fill in the blank annuity, fill in the blank mutual fund organization. Is there anything I should be doing on that resume? And the reason I ask is, I've heard in the past, and I don't know if this is dated at all, I've heard in the past that some of those, especially larger organizations that have invested in technology to help them suss out candidates for positions, actually run those resumes through readers and only spit out those ones that have certain keywords that are optical character recognition that then identify. Is that true? Is that something I should be concerned about at my level of being, a regional vice president, a vice president, a divisional vice president, head of distribution? Should I be concerned about that, or, tell me more?
So the question is should you be concerned about your resume getting screened out by some form of AI at your level, at a regional or above?
Well, wholesaler, regional, internal wholesaler. I realize I'm making a supposition that the higher I go, the less, the more hands will touch it, the more eyeballs will physically see it. That's my supposition. Is that a fair one?
Yes.
Okay. But is there anything I should do to my resume? So let's say, I don't want to pick on any organization. I don't know. I'll pick on something that has nothing to do with my industry. Ford. I'm applying for a position at Ford. And it's a white collar position at Ford. It's a white collar position in sales. I know I can do it, Ford. And I submit my resume. Is there anything I should be doing on it keyword-wise that helps it screen better through an AI type of interface?
Candidly, I have no probably advice from an AI perspective. Okay. Because I think here's the thing. If you're matching the keywords, so I guess I do have advice. I take that back. Okay. Make sure that whatever the job description says, that you're adding, if you truly have that experience, you're adding that verbiage to your resume. And that should get you past the AI. Now, here's my observation about the insurance and the financial services industry specifically. Very rarely are the firms that you and I are aware of and that we work with using that technology. And if they are, there's always ways around it. One of the things that I always am fearful of is because the majority of what we do, it's a people business, right? If you are a wholesaler or a divisional, it's largely a people business. It's your ability to interact and influence other people. And so those skills can sometimes can be put on paper, but often it's hard to articulate the value of what somebody does. And so I'm always fearful that somebody will take the content of a resume and make a snap decision or a judgment about their ability to do said certain job. And so my encouragement is, from an application standpoint, have 3 or 4 kind of inroads into an organization. So for sure, you see a posting, feel free to hit that posting. But also, hit up your buddies that you know are in that company. Hit up your buddies that used to be in that company. Hit up your buddy that knows the national sales manager. That's my encouragement, because the people with the pain will be the people making the decisions ultimately. And so you want to make sure that you get a shot at it. That's my encouragement, to maybe circumvent the AI piece.
That's a great answer. Thank you for indulging me with it. I got a question about cover letters. When I'm sending my resume into you, I heard you say email. Again, this is a little bit old school. Is there actually do cover letters get used anymore, either into firms? Is it simply email with attachment? You know, you're smirking, which making me feel really old. Are cover letters actually being used?
Oh, I wanted to see if it was a furrowed brow or a smirk. So now we have two distinct
It's a good thing we're friends. It's a good thing we're friends. Go ahead.
I know. No, I mean, I've been in this business for 18 years, and quite frankly, reading the cover letter is so laborious, and I maybe have done it twice. And so even at an executive level, so we did an executive level search 2 years ago. It was a C-level search, and there was no cover letter involved. Towards the end of the search, the deal was done. Offer was extended. Offer was accepted. Start date, all that. And they're like, "Oh, we need a cover letter." Exactly. So I personally, in the world that we work in, primarily the wholesaling world, or in some of the other industries that we focus on, cover letters are not needed.
Okay, that makes me feel better. What about references? So are references valued? And I know it's not a loaded question. Are they valued? Do they have the weight we think they have? Does it depend on who it comes from? If you, as the recruiting firm, know the person who has made the reference, can you sniff out a reference that just is gratuitous garbage? I mean, tell me about references.
Yeah,
and letters of reference.
References, if done properly and executed properly, they carry quite a bit of weight on both sides of the equation, to the influence, to the positive, to reinforce, but also a lot of times what you see is not necessarily what you get. And it's important that those references speak to that, because it's important for the company that you're going to. So yes, if you have strong references, 100% supply those references. And if you have weak references, I think a weak reference can actually be detrimental to somebody's search or interview process. An example of a weak reference would be somebody that you used to work for who you don't know what type of reference that they're going to give you. You don't know that it's going to be a resounding positive reference. And I think kind of those middle of the road, he or she worked here at this time. I kind of remember them. They were pretty good. Those are the worst. Those are absolutely the worst. So strong references that can attest to who you are, your work ethic, your integrity, your strength of integrity, and then your results.
And I want to make sure that there isn't a difference between me giving Mike Brown his name, with permission, I might add, because there's nothing stranger and frankly more rude than when somebody sends you an email after the fact and says, "Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know I wrote you down as a reference for a job." Yeah, how about letting me know ahead of time, and especially before my phone rings? That's probably good form. But is there any difference fundamentally in how you view the letter of reference? So say I send you my resume. I send you my resume and I attach 3 killer letters that are from senior leaders in the industry I've worked for in the past because they have a vested interest in wanting to help me get a new job. Are those valuable to you over and above, I wrote my name of these leaders on the line that says, "Give me your references"?
You're asking about the actual letter of recommendation. Is that,
here's my resume, here's 3 letters of recommendation from senior leaders that love me, and I wanted you to see that too. So my name comes to the top of the pile.
Yeah, for sure it's beneficial. There's no doubt about that. From our perspective, and I think our client's perspective, we would want to dig into those references, assuming that they're applicable. So meaning the job that somebody would be interviewing for, we would probably want to talk to that executive to dig in more specifically on certain aspects. whether it be relationships or strength of distribution or tonnage or whatever it is, we are going to want to dig in and verify some of the things, because inevitably it's impossible to write a reference that hits on all those points.
So it could kind of be a teaser for having you dig in further to either validate or further inform you about the competency of this person.
Absolutely. It 100% is only beneficial and only helpful. Now, if you're applying for a position and you have the CEO of a Fortune 100 company that has written you a recommendation, the direct correlation might be difficult from, let's say, an external, a wholesaler, a divisional, to have such a massive reference, because it might be too far away from the role itself. So think about who you're putting down and why you're putting down, and make sure it has an impact and it's not just a big name. Make sure that that person can talk specifically about your abilities.
That is such a super point, Mike, because if the CEO is willing to write me a letter of reference, but I am 4 or 5 levels removed from the CEO and he cannot speak to my day-to-day, he
Right.
only knows me from the national sales meeting and a couple of other interactions along the way, but it's heard good things. I'm a good person and did me a favor. That's a very interesting one. Anything else about work? Oh, I got a question. How often should I touch base with you? I mean, look, I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I might get laid off. I've submitted you my resume. We've had a little chat. Call you weekly? How's that? No.
So I think the answer also varies. It just depends. If we're active, so hopefully the recruiter should set the tone and the pace and the expectations post your initial phone call, right? So hopefully that recruiter is saying, Rob, I appreciate your time, your energy, your resume. This is where I think we can help you out directly. Here's where I think we can help you out indirectly. Introductions to people that we know that we don't work with. So there should be some type of plan post your initial intake call. You send the resume, you talk to the recruiter. There needs to be a game plan. Should there not be a game plan, that's what creates the frustration between the person looking for the job and then possibly the recruiter as well. And so I think we're trying to limit as much of that frustration as we possibly can by just being very direct and very frank. Yes, we can help you. No, we're probably not going to be able to help you. Here's another option for you. Maybe it's another recruiter. Maybe it's 3 or 4 companies that are looking. So if you're engaged in an active search, I don't think you can talk too often, meaning I don't think it's cumbersome. But if you're waiting to hear from a recruiter who may have something for you, that can get a little just too much for the most part. It's like over following up with a prospect, right?
Yes.
Because I want to help you. I absolutely, if I can help you get a job, myself, my team, everybody that works for us, and pretty much every other recruiter wants to do that. But if we don't have anything, therein lies the frustration. So I think just proper expectations. And if that recruiter seemingly after a couple phone calls doesn't have anything, probably let that lie and let it drop. Now, go ahead. I think you were going to say something also.
No. I was about, you're going to go further with that. And I want to hear more about that because I was going to shift to a different topic. So please finish that thought.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is one of the things that's proved to help out the folks within our network, whatever that network might be, with whatever industry our team of recruiters serves, is we do want to be there as an extra layer of a resource, because there are certain clients that we work with, and conversely, there's certain companies that we don't work with. And so we recognize that, and that doesn't mean that the candidates that we're interacting with can't go to any of those places, right? We can only help them directly with one of those places. So this is what I would say, where we've gained a lot of, I think, credibility within our own community is, let's say you hear about something, Rob, you have a friend that says so-and-so is looking for XYZ position. Do you know anything about it? So ping your recruiter. Hey, have you heard anything about this? Do you have any insight on this? If they're a good recruiter and they're an honorable recruiter, they're not going to go try to get that lead down. They're going to try to help you out. They're going to try to help you advance that lead on your behalf. Number one, it's the right thing to do. And number two, they probably have that information that's so easily accessible in their database. So it's like, Rob, that's a great question. I know John Smith over there. Here's his number. Good luck tracking it down. John Smith loves to hunt. Just got back from, a hunt in Canada. So that's the kind of thing where the back and forth with the recruiter, sharing of information, it's not this adversarial relationship. It truly is a relationship where we want to help somebody out. And I think if you're able to, pop them links, hey, I saw this link. Is this job open? I heard about this. That back and forth is super beneficial. And if we can help you directly, we will. And if it's indirectly, we're happy to do that as well.
And I'm not blowing smoke. It's true. That's what's separating you from other organizations, is because you view it in that holistic manner. So, that's why I'm a fan of the work that you do. Let's switch gears here. If I'm thinking that something might happen at my firm and it's got me quite anxious, prudence would say I better get my financial house in order. I want you to talk a little bit about this, because something tells me that you've had experience with candidates, your recruiters have had experience with candidates. The pressure upon them mounts, as naturally it would,
right,
when unemployment takes longer than anyone hoped nor dreamed it could, and they're financially unprepared. So from your chair, you are not a financial planner, you are a recruiter that deals with the human side of being unemployed. What's your counsel while I still have a job?
Cut expenses right away. Cut expenses as quickly as you can. Like many of these companies are doing, I would say cut your expenses and know what your bottom line is. Know what you need to function from a bottom line perspective, and know what you need to bring in from a revenue perspective. And the sooner you can do it, the better. I mean, running a business, Rob, you running a business and me running a business, one of the things that we look at are what's the bottom line? Just like you said earlier, X and Y and your delta, you have to understand that. And then I think that the sooner you can cut those things, the better off for your financial health and also your mental well-being. If you can hit X, Y, Z on a monthly basis or come pretty close to it, it really helps eliminate a lot of that stress, that added stress that you just don't need at this time. And
I want to talk directly to my wholesaling community for a hot second here, because I've talked about this before. I won't use the indelicate language. I will use the inference of the indelicate language. If you are not amassing FU money, you make a lot of money. If you are not amassing FU money, which in this case, you got effed, you didn't walk away, you need to start doing that pronto with your next commission check. So it's a balance of cutting your expenses, figuring out, and I'm exaggerating, perhaps, do I need the third home? Do I need the fourth car? Do I need 2 different memberships of clubs at both of my homes that I own? All of those things should come under examination if you in your heart feel that you work for an organization that has a history of expanding and contracting based upon environment or economic concerns. And this might be the mother of all economic concerns. And even though your firm hasn't had a history of it, they may be forced to start. So I just want to throw that out for the community that I live in. And this, again, indelicate notion of FU money. Did you have anything that you might want to add about that?
No, I think we had talked about this earlier, but having lived through 2008, that was just an absolutely brutal time, because it directly affected our markets, where it hit the wholesaling community directly between the eyes. Now, this one, I believe, will affect it, but it doesn't seem to have the same, let's say, just straight up punch that the other one did. And so I think there were so many stories of people making massive incomes that, in their next job were not making those massive incomes. And so I think for those people who have gone through this before, you understand what we're talking about. And you understand this notion. For those people that this is their first go around, let's say they're less than 10 years in the business, this is a wonderful time to start building up the kind of 6-month reserve of cash so you can float these difficult times. So don't wait. Don't wait whatsoever. If you're looking for a sign, this is the sign that Rob's giving you. Do it now.
a couple other points that your recruiters hit upon that I think are worthy of just kind of mentioning, and forgive me if I just read a couple. Clean up your company computer. This is what I never would have thought of, because sometimes we don't think about our company computer and the contents on it until that moment happens. And when that moment happens, at least in our community, you are gone in hours. So that means all of your access is cut off. Everything is just poof, you're done. You don't exist here anymore. So if there are things on the company computer that are actually your things, then you need to make sure that your photos, your stuff that you have on the company computer is removed from the company computer if in fact you wish to keep them. Another thing that was mentioned was company sponsorships and memberships. How might those be able to be continued? Should you transition some of those memberships and sponsorships to you paying for them? Can you prepay them while you're still employed? These are all things that were mentioned that I think are the reality of what happens when you think about this unfortunate potential situation. Last thing I got for you, Mike. So I cannot read the tea leaves. I don't know what the folks in my C-suite are really thinking. I can only go by my observation of what's happening in the economy, what my firm's reputation for retaining or casting aside employees are during difficult times. Should I start looking now before the land rush of people happens? Land rush is in air quotes, of course. What are your thoughts?
And you think there's a strong chance based on historical track record that they will downsize or not?
I work for Fundman Mutual Funds, and I know that Fundman Mutual Funds has this terrible habit of expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. Because even though I may not have been here for all those expansions and contractions, I know the different iterations that my distribution company has taken over the years. Should I get out in front of it and start looking now before what may happen and may not happen occurs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sooner you can do it, the better. Right away updating your resume, right away start networking, getting your network together, start expanding that network, and do it quietly. I don't think it's something where you absolutely need to freak out, but I do think you need to get ahead of the bell curve on this one. Meet one or two recruiters that you trust, and just start systematically building your plan, just like you would your kind of rotation.
The words that stick out for me here are quietly. So we're just going to do this quietly. And this, as I said at the beginning of part one, this is not designed to send any sort of additional anxiety into our marketplaces. It is designed as a important conversation, a very real conversation from two folks that have been in this place before in other economic contractions and have been either direct participants in or observers of what happens in companies when this occurs. And it is in your best interest to be forward thinking and proactive with what you do versus being forced to be in a, oh my goodness, now what do I do moment, and finding yourself in something of a panic state. Mike, anything else that you want to add before we conclude?
I would just say this has the potential to be a scary time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And so with some thought and with some focus and some planning, just know that you or potentially your buddies will be able to get through this.
Mike Brown, he owns it. He is the president. He is the owner of Management Recruiters Cedar Rapids, one of the most successful management recruiter organizations in the country. Hopefully you can see that there's a damn good reason why that's the case. And he's also a friend, which I'm happy to say. Mike Brown, thank you for joining us on the Wholesaler Masterminds Radio Show.
Thanks, Rob.
Wholesalers, come back next time for the episode right here at the Wholesaler Masterminds Radio Show.